Sawadee Cup and welcome to another episode here for the Funky Pod, Mindful Media and Communication. We've been on quite a journey so far, over 13 or so episodes. So today, I just want to take the time, as always, 10 to 15 minutes, as most episodes are, to just quickly look at, well, what did we talk about so far and where might this lead us to in the future? Okay, so that's the idea of today's episode, exploring how innovation shapes communication and maybe also a little bit how we can change with technology, but in a conscious way. All right, so buckle up because this ride that we're about to take now in the next 10, 15 minutes might get a little bit bumpy, but it hopefully will take us to a place that it's worth to bump for. Let's just start. All right, let's start by addressing the elephant pot in the room, right? AI, obviously. So artificial intelligence, right? Some fear AI could create filter bubbles isolating us from shared reality. Well, I talked about this before. If you imagine customized AI assistants bantering only about your favorite niche hobby, for example, right? While important, like societal conversations totally fly over your virtual heads, over our virtual radars, right? That would be like we're like robots stuck in a loop, only seeing the same stuff over and over again just to keep us entertained. Now, I don't really think that Rosie the robot might turn us into zombies, but I do think that increased oversight is pretty crucial as artificial intelligence, AI, gains more and more steam and more, real life acceptance. Yeah, I think developers need to install ethics. We had an ethics episode, if you remember. They need to install ethics chips, maybe even, and regularly debug those bias bugs that we also discussed about or discussed before in our previous episode, right? Because as I mentioned then, like studies show that AI can adapt unsavory human habits, just like sexism, racism, and so on. And it's going to be faster than you saying the word, Terminator, probably. So the last thing we need is, to stick with the reference, is a Skynet letting like hate speech fly, right? And if you move forward, transparency hence needs to be incredibly important, in my opinion. And of course, accountability. So transparency and accountability when it comes to AI should be mandatory. It should be like, let me use another metaphor, like they should be like the vegetables in your meal. Oh my god, a meal reference. I don't have any better one, but it's like, the veggies, the nutrition that you need to grow strong and fair. Okay, I know you also need protein and so. It's what helps you to grow strong and fair, and hence I think transparency and accountability are the basics. Let's just leave the reference or the metaphor out. Transparency and accountability are the basics for AI to develop in a strong and fair manner, I believe. But let's also talk about other trends, of course, like blockchain. Blockchain is still there, right? If I say blockchain, you might have like this image of like erupting volcanoes in your mind. Because, well, let's be honest, blockchain has environmental impact, right? So the environmental impacts, they are, and I'm happy about this metaphor in my head, they're steaming hot. Of course, there's proof of work blockchains, right, that guzzle lots of energy, like your favorite uncle at your barbecue, probably. But if you swap that old school charcoal grill for like, I know what's better, a solar panel, for example, then we would say we switch from proof of work to proof of stake, for example, when it comes to blockchain. And this is a more sustainable way of doing things, obviously. Now, critics still argue, though, that this will then, of course, sacrifice decentralization. And that's, of course, what blockchain crypto was all about, right? Now, the question is, like, what's the reasonable trade-off here? I personally, I believe the hopefully will be like a middle way. Yeah, what are reasonable trade-offs? If you tinker a little bit more with proof of stake versus proof of work, there will hopefully be some middle way that will not sacrifice decentralization completely, but hopefully will still make it, I don't know, easy on the environment, for example. If right now, if you look at it, it's kind of like still very experimental, even though there's lots of crypto stuff going on, and I mean lots of crypto stuff going on. Not going into conspiracies or anything right now, but just type in cryptocurrency, click on the news, and you see there's still lots of stuff happening. But blockchain is not just crypto, right? So I think blockchain has obviously lots of value, and it's still very experimental. It's like there's this mobile phone brick phase, right? But we can't deny that it is democratizing potential, that's there, and that this potential could empower users in, I think, pretty exciting new ways. Like if you imagine a social media platform, for example, where your data and content are actually yours. You could say less suck, more luck, so to speak. So no, and I'm using threads, by the way. So I'm not hating on suck, but I mean, you wanna be in charge of your own data, right? So while this eco consciousness, of course, is crucial, important, let's not drain that baby blockchain with the bathwater just yet, because there is potential and there is development to be seen, I believe. So I'm not giving up on blockchain just yet, just like Zuck is not giving up on the metaverse. Speaking of the metaverse, what a smooth transition. So let's dive into what we talked about in the last episode. Mixed reality, metaverse, VR, AR, all those things. So while VR chat rooms have been a rage a while back, there needs to be guardrails, obviously, so that this whole virtual world does not become the Wild West, right? And if you're a parent wondering, like, yeah, exactly, what's it? Well, maybe just start with like limiting your kids, if your parent, VR ROMs, that to protect like their cognitive development, because like kids, of course, still developing way faster, way more than adults. So there's no research on like long-term immersion, like how that impairs social skills, for example. So the last thing we need are more trolls, right? So maybe keep that under check for a bit. Don't doesn't mean like don't allow it. Just means like, hey, keep it in check. Be a good. Oh God, it's hard to say, but be a good parent, right? So I mean, don't just let him run away with it, but just keep it in check. Don't not allow it, but yeah, always know what's happening. And yeah, talking about this, but there are of course more issues with it. So for example, and I don't want to go into a rant here, but privacy pitfalls. Whoo, like AR surveillance, for example, yeah, augmented reality. Oh God, don't. I'm trying not to jump into a rant, but the thought of this movie-style spyware tracking my every move makes me really shudder. And it's not like it's just in the movies, because if you think about it, it's not. Yeah, I mean, there's facial detection. Obviously, you can pay with your face in certain countries, for example. It's there, right? So we need rigorous protocols so that AR doesn't turn into this creepy stalker, like peeking through your digital blinds, like, hey, I'm here, like the guy in You, right, from the Netflix show. We don't want it. We don't need it. We don't want it. We shouldn't have it. So there needs to be protocols. And of course, and that's one of my favorite topics to talk about, like immersive tech, of course, also creates lots of new storytelling frontiers, right? Education can become like more interactive, like interactive educational adventures, for example. Like who hasn't dreamt of having like an Iron Man style holographic assistant, for example? So the possibilities are endless. But back to what I said earlier, only if we instill ethics alongside this innovation. You know that with great power comes great responsibility, and we should all be really, really, really aware of that. So, on this quick 10-minute tour through the media matrix, if you want, we touched on a few things like this, again, like a quick recap and outlook episode before we dive into more facts and ideas in the next episode. Um, but maybe you feel like me, right? It is this dizzying pace of change can feel kind of disruptive. But with every progress that we see and hear and make, right, we can also see that there's promise being carried with it, right? Which is a good thing. So with ethical innovation and here we come mindful usage, hence the name of the podcast, I think technology can empower our lives, the way we communicate, and maybe even help us bring us closer together. So it's important to always stay savvy, but not to lose sight of the human spirit, in my opinion. That needs to remain at the helm of everything we do. Yeah, our shared journey as people demands compassion, and that is very, very important. So today, we covered like a pretty complex terrain, like very, very fast, because it's kind of like a recap of the previous episode and an outlook of what we're going to do soon. So I just want to say that you challenge yourself. Challenge yourself to just observe your relationship with technology. When do you feel the most aligned and empowered? And maybe when does anxiety or maybe even exhaustion creep in? Because I feel it a lot, to be honest. So yeah, tune into those signals that your body gives you, and then you can experiment with some small change, nurturing like more mindful usage, right? Whether it's turning off notifications or scheduling some ad-free time, consciously shaping your habits that will create ripples of change that you will feel in your everyday life. So I think the future awaits it's bright with possibility, right? But we gotta take the first step. And well, we're doing this, right? We're doing this for the past 14 or so episodes. We continue doing this. So keep walking with me on this path to mindful media and communication. And I hope you enjoy it so far. If you do, you know the drill. Like, share, subscribe, share with friends, leave some reviews on those podcast platforms because it really helps to reach a wider audience. And after some reflection after this episode, we'll be back with some more hopefully thought-provoking ideas in regards to mindful media and communication. Until then, as always, stay safe, take care, and we talk soon. Sawadee Krap.